This is the next part of our lesson called adrenal gland. Today we will
Okay,
be
sir.
discussing adrenal gland and pancreas. Okay, so small unit. Adrenal gland is for 3 marks or for 4 marks. Okay. Adrenal glands are also called as suprarenal glands. It is called as suprarenal glands. Supra means above. Renal bole to kidney. The glands are located above the kidney, so they are called as the suprarenal glands. They are in pair present on either kidney. Kidney, and on the kidney the glands are present, so they are called as the suprarenal glands. Okay. Adrenal gland are present on the upper border of each kidney, upper border of the each kidney gland. Adrenal glands are small, conical, yellowish, and show two distinct regions. It has two distinct regions internally. One is the outer part is called adrenal cortex, and the inner part is called as adrenal medulla. Conical glands. It has got inner part is called as the adrenal medulla, while the outer region is called as the adrenal cortex. This portion is the adrenal cortex, while the inner part is called as the adrenal medulla. Two distinct regions are there. Yellow conical structures and yellowish in color, having two regions, that is adrenal medulla and adrenal cortex. As usual, cortex is the outer part of the adrenal gland. Outer region is cortex, and the inner region is called as the medulla of the adrenal gland. Cortex is derived from embryonic mesoderm, while medulla is derived from embryonic ectoderm. Outer cortex is derived from embryonic mesoderm. Means in embryonic germ layers, the cortex of adrenal gland is from the mesoderm, while medulla is derived from the embryonic ectoderm. So this is the diagram showing the regions of the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, it has got outer part is called as the cortex, inner part is called as a medulla, and cortex is again divided into three regions: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Three regions are given. Okay. So adrenal medulla, glomerulosa, and fasciculata is there, and below that there is adrenal medulla. This diagram is taken from the textbook. It has got different functions to perform, and the region is differentiated. The region is differentiated based on the granulation. Okay. So three regions are there for the cortex: zona glomerulosa, zona reticularis, and zona fasciculata. Adrenal cortex. The hormones are secreted by adrenal cortex are together called as corticoids. Actually, the detailed structures of cortex and detailed structure of cortex is not there, but you have the functions of adrenal cortex coming. The hormones are secreted by the adrenal cortex are together called as corticoids. Cortex is differentiated into three concentric regions. Three concentric region means it has got three regions like this. Three regions are there, concentric regions. They will be having a middle portion, then the second, and like this. Three concentric regions are there. Adrenal cortex, the hormone secreted by the adrenal gland together is called as corticoids. A very important point to remember. And cortex is differentiated into three regions, three concentric regions. Corticoids, remember the word corticoids. Then outer thin region is called as zona glomerulosa. Outer thin region is called as a zona glomerulosa. And the zona glomerulosa secretes mineralocorticoids. The hormones generally produced by adrenal cortex are called as the corticoids. In this zona glomerulosa, which is the outer thin region of the adrenal cortex, secretes a hormone called as mineralocorticoids. That means even mineralocorticoid is a corticoid hormone. That is the meaning. They are released for regulating sodium and potassium ion concentration. The main function of the mineralocorticoid is to regulate sodium and potassium ion concentration. They regulate salt water balance, blood volume, and blood pressure. All these are the function of mineralocorticoids. That is, many functions are performed by mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoid is a hormone secreted by the outer thin region called as zona glomerulosa. They are released for regulating sodium and potassium ion concentration. They regulate salt water balance, blood volume, and blood pressure. Aldosterone, salt retaining hormone, is the main mineralocorticoid. The main mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. It balances sodium and potassium levels. So the points which you have to remember here is, what is adrenal cortex? It is the outer region of the adrenal gland. Adrenal cortex has got how many sub-regions? It has got three sub-regions. The outermost sub-region is called as zona glomerulosa. What is the function of zona glomerulosa? It secretes a hormone called as mineralocorticoid. Which is the main mineralocorticoid? Aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoid. And what do these hormones do? They are released for regulating sodium and potassium ion concentration. They regulate salt water balance of salt and water, blood volume, and blood pressure. Aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoid. Aldosterone is also called as salt retaining hormone. It balances sodium and potassium levels. तो इसके अंदर कंफ्यूजन मत रखना स्टूडेंट्स. तो राइट नोट्स ऑन मिनरलोकॉर्टिकॉइड करके आएगा तो लिखने का, मिनरलोकॉर्टिकॉइड is a hormone secreted by the zona glomerulosa. It is a thin region of the cortex. It is essential for the main mineralocorticoid is aldosterone, and the functions are maintaining salt water balance, blood volume, blood pressure. It also balances sodium and potassium levels. It is also responsible for glucocorticoids like cortisol. One minute, hold on. Okay. Then the next part, there is a small confusion. The middle thick region is called as zona fasciculata. It regulates metabolism of carbohydrates. Outer region is called as outer region was zona glomerulosa. Middle region is called as zona fasciculata. It regulates metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. Cortisol is responsible for, and This cortisol is responsible for increase in blood glucose level. It is immunosuppressive. It suppresses the production of antibodies, hence used in the treatment of allergies. So what is the function of the middle portion of the adrenal gland? The middle portion of adrenal gland is called as zona fasciculata. The main function, it regulates metabolism of carbohydrates and lipids. Cortisol is responsible for increase in blood glucose level. Increase in blood glucose level. It is immunosuppressive. Suppresses the production of antibodies. Hence, it is used in the treatment of allergies. So when body has got some allergic responses, body produces antibodies, and these antibodies are suppressed by cortisol hormone. Innermost region is called as zona reticularis. It is responsible for the production of sex corticoids. In males, they have a role in development and maintenance of external sex characters in human male. Outermost was zona glomerulosa, middle one was zona fasciculata, and innermost one is called as zona reticularis. Innermost region is thin zona reticularis. It is responsible for the production of sex corticoids. In males, they have a role in development and maintenance of external sex characters. Excess of sex corticoids in female causes adrenal virilism and hirsutism, excess of hair on face. Zona reticularis is a hormone that is concerned with the development of androgen-like features. It is responsible for sex corticoids, zona reticularis. In males, they have a role in development and maintenance of external sex characters like development of facial hair, then musculature, all this. Suppose if adrenal zona reticularis of the adrenal cortex secretes sex corticoids, in female it causes adrenal virilism, and it is also called as hirsutism, excess hair on the face. Some women shows excessive growth of hair on their face, and it remains for a long period of time. That may be due to increased production of corticoids in their body. If more corticoids are secreted, it is called as hirsutism. Hirsutism is a pronunciation. Adrenal virilism and hirsutism. Excess sex corticoids in male causes gynecostemia, enlargement of breast. That is excessive sex corticoids. Suppose excessive sex corticoids in human female causes adrenal virilism and hirsutism. At the same time, excess of sex corticoids in male causes gynecostia, that is enlargement of breast. That also, if some human male, if they show some excessive breast growth and it remains for a long period of time, it has something to do with production of sex corticoids by the innermost layer of adrenal cortex. Androgens and estradiols are produced by the adrenal cortex. Androgens and estradiols both are hormones that are required for sexual character expression. Androgens and estradiols are produced by adrenal cortex, and these are essential for development of secondary sexual characters, both in male as well as in human female. Disorders related to adrenal cortex. So students, adrenal gland के अंदर ज़्यादा discussion इतना ही है. Adrenal gland has got two parts, adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. हम लोग adrenal medulla discuss नहीं किया अभी तक, सिर्फ cortex discuss किया है. Cortex has got three regions: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata and zona reticularis करके 3 regions रहता है, and all the 3 region has got different hormones to secrete and their functions are mentioned. Okay, two functions from each category you have to learn. And what is the function of aldosterone and what is the function of cortisol? Those are the other important point which you have to remember. Now, disorders related to adrenal cortex. Hyposecretion of mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoids are responsible for Addison's disease. If there is lesser production, hyposecretion, hyposecretion of mineralocorticoids, hyposecretion of mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoid is responsible for Addison's disease. It's a very important one. Hyposecretion is Addison's disease. Objective type mein this came for many times for examination. What are the symptoms of Addison's disease? Low blood sugar level is considered as one of the symptoms of Addison's disease, which is due to the lesser secretion of glucocorticoid as well as mineralocorticoids. Low sodium ion concentration and potassium ion concentration in the blood, especially in the blood plasma. Symptoms of Addison's disease: low blood sugar level, low sodium ion concentration and potassium ion concentration in blood plasma. Increased loss of sodium ion and water in urine. That is the reason why there is low amount of sodium in the blood. That is due to more and more sodium escapes through the urine. It leads to weight loss, weakness, nausea, vomiting and diarrhea are also considered as some of the symptoms. So what is Addison's disease? Addison's disease is the disease that arises due to lesser production, hyposecretion of mineralocorticoid as well as glucocorticoids. And what are the symptoms of Addison's disease? Low blood sugar level, low sodium ion concentration in the blood plasma, and increased loss of sodium ion and water in urine. Okay. It also leads to weight loss, weakness, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea are also considered as some of the symptoms. Weight loss is one of the symptoms. Weakness is observed. Nausea, vomiting sensation and vomiting as well as diarrhea. That is, these are all prolonged, not remain for 1 or 2 days. If it remains for a long period of time, then only we can say that this all arises due to hyposecretion of glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. Because these are all symptoms of some other physiological disorders also. ये सब बाकी सब physiological disorder का भी symptom है. एक बार ये symptom देखा तुरंत we should not conclude that the person is suffering from Addison's disease. Okay, that is the meaning. Hypersecretion of glucocorticoids causes of Cushing's disease. Suppose more amount of glucocorticoids. Here remember that it is especially on glucocorticoids. More amount of glucocorticoid causes Cushing's disease. Hyposecretion was Addison's disease and hypersecretion is Cushing's disease. Cushing's. These are all name of the scientists or name of the doctors who enlisted the symptoms for the first time. It leads to high blood sugar level. We can see that just opposite of the Addison's disease. Symptoms of Addison's disease and the symptoms of Cushing's disease are just opposite to each other. It leads to high blood sugar level, high blood pressure, obesity and wasting of limb muscles. Obesity means here a person will be obese or fat, and wasting of limb muscles. Limb muscles becomes thin. Okay, those are the symptoms. So hypersecretion of glucocorticoid causes Cushing's disease, leads to high blood sugar level, high BP, obesity, and wasting of limb muscle. Limb muscles becomes wasting, means there are chances that the limb muscles becomes loose as well as loose, and it slowly it becomes thin. That appears due to hypersecretion of glucocorticoids. Either from examination point of view, two symptoms from each category you have to learn. What is Addison's disease? Give it symptoms. What is Cushing's disease? Give it symptoms. दो दो क्वेश्चन 2 मार्क के लिए आएगा स्टूडेंट्स ये क्वेश्चंस. और what are the abnormality of adrenal cortex करके आएगा तो that will be a 3 mark question. Okay. The symptoms are enlisted. Learn as it is. Then we have adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla is the core of the adrenal gland, middle portion of the inner portion of the adrenal gland. Medulla of adrenal gland secretes 2 hormones. One is adrenaline, and the other one is called as noradrenaline or norepinephrine. Adrenal medulla secretes 2 hormones. One is called as adrenaline, and the other one is called as noradrenaline. They are also called as epinephrine, or they are also called as norepinephrine. देखो इसके अंदर जो पॉइंट्स दे रहे हैं स्टूडेंट्स, दिस आर आंसर टू द क्वेश्चंस. यही प्रिपेयर करने का, इसके अंदर से कितना पॉइंट्स याद रख सकते उतना याद रखे एग्जाम को लिखने का. Adrenal cortex produces hormones like mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoids, and it also produces एस्ट्राडियोल्स एंड एंड्रोजन लाइक हॉर्मोन्स. ओके, कॉर्टेक्स का हॉर्मोन्स क्या है? मिनरलोकॉर्टिकॉइड है, ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकॉइड्स है, and androgens as well as what estradiols are the hormones of cortex. हम लोग that is glucocorticoid का function और mineralocorticoid का function अलग अलग डिस्कस किया है. 2 to 3 functions you have to learn. Then androgen और estradiol का function भी डिस्कस किया है और उसके abnormalities डिस्कस किया. एड्रेनल कॉर्टेक्स के abnormality जनरली डिस्कस किया. हाइपोसेक्रेशन causes Addison's disease and hyper causes Cushing's disease. Then adrenal medulla. Medulla of adrenal gland secretes 2 hormones. One is called adrenaline, also called as epinephrine, and the other one is called as noradrenaline, or it is called as a norepinephrine. Adrenaline is also known as emergency hormone. It is a fight, flight, and fright hormone. Fight, flight, and fright hormone. This adrenaline is generally produced by the body when the person is stress conditions. The hormone is released at the time of stress condition. When body faces some tension or some stresses, body produces adrenaline. Adrenaline helps the body to deal with stress conditions or emergency conditions. It is called as 3F hormones: fight, flight, or fright. Either you move away from the situation or you deal with the situation, that is the fight, or you frighten the enemy or the stress and escape from the situation. It is called as fight, flight, or it is called as a fright hormones. Fright hormones, adrenaline. It helps the body to deal with the stress condition. Noradrenaline regulates blood pressure under normal condition and also act as a vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstrictor means it can narrow the blood vessels. Okay. So only this much is there for the adrenal medulla. अच्छा हो गया. Adrenal medulla is a very detailed one, but our syllabus deals only with this much matter. Adrenal medulla, medulla of adrenal gland secretes 2 hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. Adrenaline is also known as emergency hormone, or it is called as a fight, flight, or fight hormone. Noradrenaline regulates blood pressure under normal condition and also act as a vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstrictor means it can contract the blood capillaries. Okay, so इतना याद रखने का medulla के अंदर. Only this much for the from the syllabus. that is adrenal gland. इसके अंदर क्वेश्चंस अभी तक है ना स्टूडेंट्स, एडिसन्स डिजीज, कुशिंग डिजीज का ही क्वेश्चंस आता था. What are the functions of adrenal cortex, adrenal cortex and hormones of adrenal cortex करके questions have not appeared in the examination till now, but Addison's disease and Cushing's disease used to be a important question. Remember that. But anyway, these are all there in the syllabus, not omitted. Okay. Adrenal medulla, इतना ही points याद रखने का. Now you wait for a minute. Next gland is pancreas. Till I take the slide. Next gland is pancreas. Pancreas, here also we have very little point to discuss. Pancreas is details of pancreas we have learned when we discussed digestive systems in the 11th standard. You might have learned it. Pancreas is a dual gland. That means pancreas is both exocrine as well as endocrine in function. Pancreas can act as an exocrine gland and pancreas can act as an endocrine gland also. It is a dual gland. This is the only dual gland in human body. Yeah? That is pancreas, exocrine gland, and as well as it is an endocrine gland. As an exocrine gland, pancreas secretes digestive enzymes. It can secrete enzymes. As exocrine gland, it produces the enzymes in its digestive juices. And endocrine gland, it will produce the what? Hormones. So that is the point. Pancreas is the only dual gland in body, which is both exocrine as well as endocrine in function. Okay. This is the diagram of the pancreas. Textbook has no diagram here. In textbook has no diagram for pancreas. You know, students, the exocrine part of pancreas is called as acini, while the endocrine part of pancreas is called as islets of Langerhans. The pancreas, the exocrine part of pancreas is called as acini. That is the exocrine part, while the endocrine part of pancreas is called as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. So the details of this are coming, students. Exocrine part is called as acini, while the endocrine part is called as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans, Langerhans. So acini is the exocrine part that produces the enzymes. Islets of Langerhans produces the hormones. याद रखने का. Some the cells of the outermost layer of cell. These cells are representing the acini, while the middle portion represents the islets of Langerhans. The outer one represents, this outermost portion represents the acini, the exocrine part, while the middle portion represents the endocrine part of the pancreas. Pancreas, we draw the diagram of pancreas generally associated with the digestive system. Okay. What is the exocrine part of pancreas called? Acini. What is the endocrine part called? Endocrine part is islets of Langerhans. Pancreas develops from endoderm. Okay, is there a question aayega? Whether is it necessary to learn the embryonic origin of all these organs? Yes, this is very important to learn the embryonic origin of all the organs. हम लोग कितना भी embryonic origin से वो लिख के रखने का students. This gland originates from endoderm. This portion develops from ectoderm. For example, nervous system, including the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the entire origin is from the ectoderm. So they have got different embryonic origin. So it is very important to note it down to, that is from where these organs arises. What is their origin in the embryonic germ layer? Okay. So pancreas arises from the endoderm. It is both exocrine and endocrine gland. That is why the gland is called as a dual gland. Endocrine cells of the endocrine cells form group of cells called islets of Langerhans. That is the name. Endocrine part is islets of Langerhans. There are four different kinds of cells in the islets of Langerhans which secretes hormone. Which secretes hormone, WHICH, which secretes hormone. So there are four kinds of cells in islets of Langerhans which secretes the hormones. Of which first one is called as alpha cells, which occupies 20% of the islets of Langerhans. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. A hormone called as glucagon is secreted by the alpha cells. There are alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells, and polypeptide cells. Like that, four cells are there. Alpha cells occupies 20% of the total islets of Langerhans. Secretes a hormone called as glucagon. It stimulates liver for glycogenolysis to increase the blood glucose level. Glycogenolysis, ग्लाइकोजन को लाइसिस करना है, लाइक ग्लाइकोजन को ब्रेक डाउन करने का. सो ग्लाइकोजन ब्रेक डाउन करेगा तो ग्लूकोज बनेगा और ग्लूकोज ब्लड के अंदर आएगा, तो ब्लड के अंदर ग्लूकोज का लेवल इंक्रीज होता है. सो व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ ग्लूकागॉन? Glucagon, it is essential for increasing the level of glucose in the blood. How it increases the level of glucose in the blood? By a process called as glycogenolysis. Glycogen को break down करने का. What is glycogen? It is the stored food in human body. Human body के अंदर stored food is glycogen, and glycogen is present in the liver. It will stimulate the liver to break down the glycogen to release glucose, so that the glucose come to the blood and level of glucose increases. That is carried out by the glucagon. The second type of cells are called as beta cells. 70% of the islets of Langerhans are beta cells. They secrete a hormone called as insulin. It stimulates liver and muscles for glycogenesis. Glycogenesis means glucose बनाने में help करता है. Glycogenesis means it will help the liver to intake the glucose and convert that into glycogen बनाने का. So that suppose there is more amount of glucose in the blood, body will produce insulin, so that the liver can uptake the glucose and convert the glucose into glycogen and store it. When glucose is taken up by the liver and stored in the liver, the level of glucose in the blood will come down. So it secretes insulin. It stimulates liver and muscle for glycogenesis. Glycogenesis means convert the glucose into glycogen and store it. This lowers the blood glucose level. Delta cell, 5% is delta cells. Secretes somatostatin, which inhibits the secretion of glucagon and insulin. Delta cells produces somatostatin, and somatostatin is a check hormone. Checks it up. If there is excess of glucagon in the blood, it will tell the alpha cell not to produce glucagon. If there is excess insulin in the cell in the blood, it will tell the beta cell not secrete what? Insulin. ये दोनों को control करने के लिए. Otherwise, there are chances that both the cells may behave abnormally and secretes both the hormones like glucagon and insulin, so that can affect the body metabolism. Yeah. Body metabolism. So, beta cells lowers the glucose level. Insulin is a hypoglycemic hormone बुलाते हैं. Hypoglycemic बोले तो glucose को कम करना. Glucagon is a hyperglycemic hormone, increases the level of glucose in the blood. And delta cell produces somatostatin. Somatostatin regulates the amount of these two hormone. अभी इंसुलिन ज्यादा हो गया, सोमैटोस्टैटिन उसको डिक्रीज करेगा. अभी ग्लूकागोन ज्यादा हो गया, सोमैटोस्टैटिन उसको भी डिक्रीज कर सकता है. It also decreases the gastric secretion, motility, also secretes the gastric secretions, motility and absorption in the digestive tract. This delta somatostatin can decrease the gastric secretion. Gastric juices का secretion को भी secretion को रुकाता है, उसका absorption. All these are controlled by the somatostatin. PP cells, also called as F cells, that forms the 5% of the islets of Langerhans, secrete.
Sir,
Hello. Yes.
sir, meaning of motility?
Miss, the flow and the movement of the gastric juices. That is motility. Hello. The flow as well as the movement of the gastric juices through the digestive tract. That also is prevented by the somatostatin, so that their absorption, their production, everything can be what regulated. Okay. PP cells or F cells 5% secrete the pancreatic polypeptide. It inhibits the release of pancreatic juices. Hello, some students are leaving the meeting. Please see that. Okay. Okay, anyway. Disorders related to the pancreas. One is called diabetes mellitus. It is also called as hyperglycemia. This is the most common metabolic endocrine disorder of the pancreas. Generally, majority of population of India suffers from this disorder. This is the most common metabolic endocrine disorder of pancreas. It leads to increase in blood glucose level. What are the symptoms of diabetes mellitus? Mellitus means sweet, honey. That word के अंदर से आता है. We have discussed one more diabetes, that is called diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus is related to the lower secretion of ADH. Here this is related to the lower secretion of insulin, called as diabetes mellitus. Hyperglycemia बोलते हैं, increased glucose level in the blood. This is the most common metabolic endocrine disorder of pancreas. This is due to the underactivity of beta cells, which results in reduced secretion of insulin. Underactivity means less activity of beta cells. What is the function of beta cell? The function of beta cell is to secrete hormone called as what? Insulin. In children, such a condition is called insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, or it is called as IDDM, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. The other form of diabetes is non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. So there are two types of diabetes mellitus arises in individuals. In children, it causes insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or type 1, and non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, which is called as type 2. This is caused due to the failure of insulin to allow the movement of glucose in the cells. That is again the motility. Movement of motility due to the failure of insulin to allow the movement of glucose into the cells. Means in this case, cells will not be able to absorb glucose from the blood. So the glucose is going to remain in the blood. If glucose remains in the blood, we call it as hyperglycemia. And hyperglycemia is considered as one of the symptoms of diabetes mellitus. Okay, this is caused due to failure of insulin to allow the movement of glucose into cells. Glucose into cells means glucose from the blood has to move into the cells, and movement of glucose from the blood to the cells is due to the presence of insulin. No insulin means this activity will be prevented. Reduced sensitivity to insulin is called as insulin resistance. Even if insulin is present in the body, and sometimes body shows reduced sensitivity to it, it is called as a what? Insulin resistance. In both disorders, glucose level increases and some glucose is excreted through the urine. Some persons may be having some persons may be showing diabetes mellitus due to abnormality of beta cells. In some other cases, that may arise due to insulin resistance. Body resists the functioning of the insulin. In both the cases, whether it is diabetes mellitus or insulin resistance, in both the cases there is increased glucose level in the blood, and so that excess of glucose is excreted through the urine. It also causes excessive urination and dehydration of body tissue. Degradation of fats increases formation of ketone bodies. So this also results in the degradation of fat. As a result, ketone body increases in the blood and it is excreted through the urine, which is called as ketosis. Ketosis is also observed in diabetes mellitus persons. Administration of insulin lowers blood glucose level. If insulin is taken in proper quantity, administered either in the form of tablet or in the form of injections, this can lower the blood glucose level. Okay, these are the parts which you have to remember in the what you call pancreas. Pancreas is a dual gland. Pancreas is exocrine and endocrine in function. Pancreas pancreas, it the exocrine part is called as acini, while the endocrine part of pancreas is called as islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans has got 4 types of cells, of which first type of cells are called as alpha cells. Alpha cells secretes a hormone called as glucagon. The main function of glucagon is to increase the level of glucose in the blood. So glucagon is called as hyperglycemic hormone. Increase the level of glucose in the blood. Second group of cells are called as the beta cells. Beta cells secretes a hormone called as insulin. Insulin lowers the level of glucose in the blood, so it is called as hypoglycemic hormone. It decreases the level of glucose by helping the cells to intake glucose from the blood. Blood के अंदर glucose आएगा तो cells absorb करता है glucose को in the presence of insulin. So thereby the level of glucose in the blood drops. That is called as hypoglycemic hormone. The third group of cells are called as delta cells. Delta cells produces secretes hormone called as somatostatin. Somatostatin is essential for regulating the production and their motility of glucagon, motility of insulin, and motility of gastric juices. Their secretion as well as motility. Motility here means movement as well as absorption by the cells. And the last group of cells are called as polypeptide cells, which also secretes substances that regulate the mechanism of pancreas. Okay. So the abnormality of pancreas results in a metabolic disorder called as diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus, one is type 1, it is called as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, and the other one is type 2, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Okay. So one of the other important, this increases the level of glucose in the blood and also causes excretion of glucose through the urine, and may also causes ketosis. Ketosis arises due to the formation of ketone bodies, and ketone bodies are produced after the degradation of fats. Administration of insulin lowers the blood glucose level. So these are the two glands which we discussed today. One is called as adrenal gland, and the other one is the um, pancreas. A very short unit, friends. Minimum points you learn from an examination point of view. Maximum marks may be 2 or 3 marks question. Sometimes objective type questions may also come. In adrenal part, Addison's disease and Cushing's disease forms important, and in pancreas, alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells, their name of the hormones, and what is their functions. Okay, this much is important. Today we'll stop here, and then by next class we have got two more glands coming. We'll be discussing in the next lecture. Thank you.